Land Cruiser Tips channel. Today we're going to install this fan to cool off our condenser for when it gets real hot outside and help the air conditioning work a little better. I got this fan from the junkyard off of I think it's like a 99 Isuzu Rodeo, about 20 bucks, and there you can find them all kinds of different cars and stuff. You just have to go to the pick and pull and figure out what you want. But this one comes over here, and I had to make a special mount for it, and I didn't film that, but you can see it right here. Basically it's just a piece of flat stock I had, and then I welded in a couple of studs to mount this here. And then I'm using the existing mount for the fan that wasn't included on this vehicle. I guess they have a place for them here. What's it called? The CDS fan. But North American Land Cruisers didn't come with these, but I guess overseas they did. So we're adding one here to try to help our air conditioner work a little better. So we'll kind of go through the process on how to do that. There's several different ways that you can do it. We opted to go for more of an automated way that works off the high-low pressure switch on the air conditioner. So when it reaches a certain head temperature in there, it'll turn the fan off, and when it goes under that pressure, it'll turn the fan off. And then we're also going to put an override switch on the dash so we can turn it on and off manually. So we'll go through those steps in just a minute. All right, so we got the fan all mounted in here. If you want to come in, you can look at kind of how I did it. And so we got one holding on there and one there, and that one was tricky to get to. This other side here, it's just, there was no good way to mount that, but it's pretty sturdy in there, so we'll see how it turns out. So now we're going to start wiring it up. This is the end connector that I had that came with this fan. You can see here it's a weatherproof connector. So we're going to start putting this together, and I'll show you how we're going to make our connections real quick. Okay, I use these cool little connectors here. They're got some glue in there that keeps them weatherproof, and it's got a little solder in here. And basically, you just take your heat gun and you melt them together. It makes a nice watertight connection. See the solder melted in the wires there. I fused those wires together, and then that glue closed around the ends here to make it a nice weatherproof connection. They're pretty good. Sometimes you can get them too hot and it'll melt through, but the best way to do it is with a heat gun. You can try a lighter, but the lighter seems to want to burn through the stuff. So we'll make all of our connections like that, and we'll pick up here next on getting it wired up to the relay and the switch in the car. Okay, so the parts that you will need for this are these little guys right here. These weatherproof terminal connectors, and they're kind of expensive for what they are. I think for two of them they're about $10. But there's your part number, 82998-12270. These are going to attach into your, this is your control switch right here that hooks into your pressure switch right here to the AC unit. If you can see this bit right here, you just undo that by pushing down on that tab and pulling it off. And then they're gonna, the two little spaces you're gonna need, they have these little rubber plugs in them from the factory, and just take like a small screwdriver or something and just push them out. And then you take this dude, let's see if we can get the camera in here, and can you see that this terminal deal has a little slot in it, and this wants to face inward. So push it in that hole. Hang on. Just push it in there, and then you'll want to make sure that it locks in place. And as long as you have that little hole basically pointing this direction, and on the other side that direction, so to the inside of the switch will be okay. So now this is the switch we're going to tap into. So I'll take a pause here real quick and we'll show you what to do with the wires in a second. Okay, this is the relay that we're going to install into the car, and these relays are pretty cool. You just slide that red thing out, push that tab down, and then there's your relay. These are great. They can be found on mid-90s GM vehicles. So like, you know, I think I got this one off a Cadillac in the junkyard. A lot of times you open up the hood, you'll see like a whole block of them just hanging out there. Man, just pull them off and cut them, and they charge like $5 a relay. And these are better than anything you can buy down at the store. So these are what I use. And here's our diagram, kind of what we're gonna do, what I drew up. So looks like a number 30 on your relay will go to a fused link on the 12 volt for the battery. If you don't want the fan to run and cool off your condenser after you've turned off the ignition, then you'll have to put this on a switched source. But I wanted it to run and cool it off. So number 87 will go to the 12 volt feed of the fan. Number 86 will tie in to number 30. So basically we're just going to tie those two together for 12 volts. And then number 85 is going to connect to our pressure switch. We're also going to install that switch in the dash, and we'll just tap right into 85 also to get that to work, and just basically short to ground to turn on the circuit. So we're going to put this in and wire it all up, and we'll let you see what it looks like. Okay, so we finally got it all hooked up here. Had a little bit of a problem. Found out that the 25 amp fuse that I put in there blew, so I went with 30 amp fuse, and it seems to be working. So here's basically what we got going on here, and then I've got it hooked up to a manual switch here that you can see. Basically this switch just taps into number 85, I believe. Is that what it is? Let me get my schematic. Yeah, hooks into number 85, so you can see coming right here from 85, hooks into this part of the switch, and then the other part of that switch just goes to ground. And so I'll mount this inside the truck and basically just run this wire to number 85 and then ground that one in the truck somewhere. And here we got 85 also being hooked up and connected to that side of the pressure switch. The other side of the pressure switch goes to ground. And then we got number 87 going to the fan lead right here. And then the fan lead right here goes to the ground, to the fan lead goes to the ground. And then number 30 and number 86, I believe. Yeah, number 30 and number 86 tie in together and then go to this fused link and then connect to this battery. So I'll show you right now. We got this. You can just turn it on with the switch. Okay, so we got the car running and the air conditioner's on. And we're going to see if once that pressure gets built up in the condenser, if it's going to turn on our fan for us automatically. So we'll sit here and wait for a little while and see what happens. Right now you can kind of see the fan turning because the fan from the engine is blowing air through there and it's turning it. But hopefully when it kicks on, we'll be able to hear it and see it come on more. We'll see if we can give it a little gas. You can hear it and you can see that it's on. And we'll go ahead and turn off the car, and we should see it run for a little while and then stop once it's cooled down. Okay, looks like it was a success. Now, if you don't like the fact that it runs after you turn the car off, because if it's super hot out, it might run for 2 or 3 minutes, so it cools that condenser down and brings the pressure down. If If you don't like that, then you can find a switched 12-volt source and just basically put this to the switch source, so that way it just turns it off whenever the car turns off. But I don't think it's gonna, you know, run for an hour or anything and drain my battery down. And if it does, we'll deal with it then. So looks like it's working. Thanks, and thanks a lot. Okay, so here's the switch that we installed. And we just do, I don't know if you can hear that or not, but that turns the fan on and that turns it off. This is just an on-off switch. Looks basically like this. One of those wires goes to, sorry. One of those wires goes to the number 85 terminal on the relay, and the other wire essentially just goes to ground, and I just chose a ground right there. I just unscrewed that and went to ground, and it works. And I'll show you the finished bit of wiring that we did here. Here's my wiring loom, all those wires basically, and then there's the relay. So I cleaned everything up nice and put it back together, and everything works just as planned. So, and again, here's the schematic in case you want to look at it a little closer. Make sure. So that's pin 86 and pin 30 go together to fuse the link to the battery. Pin 87 goes to the positive side of the fan, and then the negative side of the fan goes to ground. And then our AC relay switch goes to pin 85, and the other side of the switch goes to ground. And then our switch, one side goes to ground and one side taps into that 85 terminal on the relay. Okay, so that pretty much covers the auxiliary fan installation. Works real well. Hopefully it will continue to help cool the condenser down in stop and go traffic, and when you're off-roading and going slow and not a lot of air moving through the condenser. If you have any questions or comments, just let me know. See ya.